After finishing that, Wang Lin's expression became even more serious as he stared at the symbol on the sword sheath. He formed a seal with both of his hands and he spat out a mouthful of blue spiritual energy. The moment the blue spiritual energy touched the sword sheath, a blue flame surrounded the it. Doesn't seem right to call it fire. Although it had the shape of a flame, it didn't have fire's temperature. In fact, the moment this flame appeared, the temperature of the entire room dropped. Wang Lin didn't even blink as he controlled the cold flame to refine the sword sheath. This cold flame was something he came up with while trying to copy a core formation cultivator's core flame. Because he had no one to consult with, he was very careful about it. After theorizing for a long time, he believed that his cold flame was enough to refine the sword sheath. Time slowly passed. 3 days later, Yi Zizai returned to the plane above the corpse sect like a meteor. The moment his feet touched the ground, he disappeared without a trace. When he reappeared, he was already inside his own chamber. He was very unsettled as he thought about his deal with the other 3 demonic sects. The qualification exam to enter the foreign battleground was won by the demonic sects before, but now there was Pan Nanzi and his Xiandao sect, so the outcome was uncertain. His brows were locked as he muttered, "Are you confident in killing Pan Nanzi?" A hoarse voice came out of Yi Zizai's body. Although that junior is only at the mid-stage of nascent soul, he is at the peak of the mid-stage. If he is lucky, he can break into the late stage within 100 years and become the master of a rank 3 cultivation country. If my possession is complete, he won't be a big deal, but right now I don't want to make matters more complicated. Yi Zizai pondered for a long time in silence. After a long time he took out a piece of jade. The jade was green with points of blood flashing non-stop. All Foundation Establishment disciples from Cave 77 to 99 quickly gather in Cave 36. After he finished speaking, he pondered for a while and looked at the corner he sealed a die in. Then he came to a decision. He placed a jade on his forehead, then threw it out. Mu Rong was cultivating when his eyes suddenly opened as a jade in his bag of holding flew out by itself. His expression slightly changed and he picked it up with an unsettled expression. After a long time he sighed and muttered, "Good thing I broke through the early stage to the mid-stage of Foundation Establishment 3 years ago and jumped from Cave 82 to 72, or my life would be in danger this time." Suddenly, green smoke appeared before him, forming the shape of a piece of jade. Mu Rong was stunned. After he scanned the jade, he sneered and turned toward Wang Lin's cave. After a short period of time, he arrived at Wang Lin's cave. Seeing that the cave was sealed, he pressed his hand on the entrance and used his spiritual energy to shake the cave. After that, he shouted, "Ancestor, the first ancestor is gathering Foundation Establishment cultivators in Cave 36. I'm here to guide you there." After receiving no reply, he frowned. From the first ancestor's message earlier, Wang Lin didn't seem to be favored. Also, before the first ancestor left, he ordered him and several other Foundation Establishment cultivators to guard Wang Lin. In conclusion, Wang Lin was like a prisoner. But Mu Rong was very smart. He wouldn't say any of this out loud. Just at that moment, the sealed cave opened with a cracking sound. A tired Wang Lin walked out. Mu Rong looked at Wang Lin and smiled. "Ancestor, what happened to you?" Wang Lin didn't answer but took out his dark blue jade and said, "Brother Mu, please guide me to Cave 36. Mu Rong didn't mind. He nodded and walked in front of Wang Lin. A cold light flashed across Wang Lin's eyes as he coldly smiled in his heart. Although he wasn't able to completely refine the sword sheath in these 3 days, he was now able to go 4/5 of the way into the sword sheath, increasing the power of his flying sword greatly. They walked past one cave after another until they entered a giant cave with 16 stone pillars. On top of each stone pillar was a ball of blue flame. The ghostly light from the blue flame made the place look very creepy. Inside the cave neatly stood 20-ish people. Each of them had a coffin behind them. The coffins came in various shapes, but all released powerful auras. After having lead Wang Lin here, Mu Rong looked at the people present with a complicated look. He then turned around and left without a word. Wang Lin frowned. He felt like there was something wrong here. After carefully checking out the people, he became even more cautious. Almost everyone here had just entered the Foundation Establishment stage and all of them seemed very dumb, as in without much intelligence. There weren't any mid-stage foundation establishment cultivators present, but there were some late-stage ones. These three were clearly very different, like the difference between a dead and a living person. Wang Lin's pupils shrank when gas came out of the 16 blue flames. The gas gathered and formed the shape of Yi's eye. Wang Lin noticed that after he appeared, the eyes of everyone in the cave were filled with admiration. Yi's eye's gaze swept past everyone. His gaze stopped on Wang Lin for a few seconds. He plainly said, "The foreign battleground that opens up once every 100 years is about to open again. In order to gain the right to enter, we might fight against the orthodox sections. The rule is that core formation and nascent soul cultivators aren't allowed to enter. Soon you all will be teleported to Juming Valley. Du Chun will be in charge of the everyone there. Du Chun, come here." A black-clothed middle-aged man walked up. Wang Lin looked at him and saw that he was one of the 3 late-stage foundation establishment cultivators who had already entered the realm of pseudo-core formation. "This is the token to enter the foreign battleground. Hang on to it well. Remember, the goal of this competition is to steal the other tokens. Also, be careful of the other 3 demonic sections. Anyone who kills 5 enemies will have their soul freed." With that, he handed over the token, then took out 3 pieces of jade as his cold gaze suddenly landed on Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was normal as he silently looked at Yi's eye. Yi's eye's tone was normal as he calmly said, "These jades contain a sliver of everyone's soul besides yours." Without a word, Wang Lin bit the tip of his tongue and spat out some blood. He touched his forehead with his right hand and a golden light shone, causing the blood to become a drop of golden blood. The technique to extract a sliver of his soul was recorded in the jade Yi's eye gave him. Wang Lin pointed at the drop of golden blood. It shot forward and landed on one of the jades in Yi's eye's hand. Yi's eye was stunned as he looked at Wang Lin. He didn't expect Wang Lin to be so willing. Originally, he was prepared to directly kill Wang Lin if he resisted. He had already made the decision to not use Wang Lin as a corpse puppet or possession target anymore. After all, aside from the strange cultivation method, Wang Lin's talent wasn't nearly as good as that of the ones he had already prepared. Any one of the people he had prepared for his body or corpse puppet had much more talent than Wang Lin, so he chose a die in the end. Upon seeing that Wang Lin obeyed orders, Yi's eye looked at Wang Lin and waved his hand. A giant cave opened up. It was very dark inside and there was a suction force coming from inside. Yi's eye threw the 3 jades containing slivers of everyone's soul toward Du Chan and 2 other people. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he noticed that the other 2 were the remaining 2 late-stage foundation establishment cultivators. The doubt in Wang Lin's heart became even more intense, but his expression remained normal. He carefully remembered the cultivator that held the jade containing part of his soul. Yi's eye blandly said, "Go, I'll wait for the good news." Du Chan respectfully nodded. He was the first one to step into the giant cave and disappear. Wang Lin's expression was normal. He didn't hesitate at all as he disappeared from the corpse sect. After everyone left, a hoarse voice echoed in the cave. Yi's eye, with 20+ puppets and that brat as a sacrifice, once the puppets consume them, their cultivation level will jump to pseudo-core formation. This time, the corpse sect's qualification is assured. Yi's eye calmly said, "The EN energy in Wang Lin is very pure, so he must have some secrets on him. If it was a few years earlier, I would have taken the time to investigate it a bit, but now I only have 3 months left to live. The day the foreign battleground opens is the day I die, so there isn't any point to it anymore. Since I'm not going to use his body, might as well use it as feed for the corpse puppets to boost their strength. Luocha, I'll ask you to boost a die to the core formation stage. Once the foreign battleground opens, go find me a good corpse puppet. In return, I'll make a trip to the jungle to help Lord Z possess my junior apprentice brother Wu Yu." The hoarse voice laughed madly and agreed. Juming Valley was at the southern edge of Zhao. The valley was very large. It contained several jungles and rivers. Being the place used for the competition for entering the foreign battleground, this area was shrouded by fog year-round. At this point in the northern area of the valley, a large door appeared as cultivators with coffins behind them floated out one by one. After the last person appeared, the giant door turned into points of golden light and slowly dissipated. Just at that moment, The 3 late-stage Foundation establishment cultivators were about to crush the jades containing the slivers of soul with their hands. Wang Lin had kept an eye on the person that was holding the jade containing a part of his soul. The moment he saw that the 3 were about to crush the jades, he opened his mouth. A green flying sword flew out and attacked the 3. The moment the green light appeared, the temperature in the area dropped. The flying sword that Wang Lin blood refined had also changed after Wang Lin started cultivating the underworld ascension method. EN energy had entered the flying sword. The EN energy on the sword was very tyrannical. All of the plants in the area suddenly froze. Even all of the early-stage Foundation establishment cultivators felt their bodies go numb as frost started to form on their clothes. The cultivator holding the jade containing Wang Lin's sliver of soul was shocked. He didn't have time to crush the jade. All he could do was quickly back up. But not even in his dreams did he expect the flying sword to start humming, then suddenly disappearing from his view. He quickly threw out magical treasures to defend himself, but it was too late. The flying sword appeared 1 meter away from the cultivator and pierced through his throat. Blood sprayed out from the spot the sword pierced. He held his throat with both of his hands as he fell down with a look of disbelief on his face. Wang Lin jumped. He grabbed the jade and threw it into his bag of holding. All of this happened too quickly. Calling it a strike of lightning would be very appropriate. At the same time, the other 2 cultivators had crushed their jades. Pink smoke appeared and spread like waves into the surrounding area. The moment the coffins that the corpse sex disciples were carrying came into contact with the pink smoke, scratching sounds could be heard from inside the coffins. It was as if people were lying in the coffins and scratching the inside with their nails. Looking at the Foundation establishment cultivators, they all looked like they were under the effect of a binding technique. They couldn't move at all. After crushing the jades, the 2 late-stage Foundation establishment cultivators didn't even look at Wang Lin as they charged back toward the gate that was about to collapse. The 2 disappeared into the gate in a flash, and then the gate dissipated into specks of golden light and disappeared without a trace. Wang Lin didn't say a word. He quickly backed up as he looked at the disciples of the corpse sect and began to ponder. The scratching sounds became even louder, until one of the coffins broke and a hand reached out, followed by the sound of heavy breathing. Slowly, a mummy with long black hair sat up in the coffin. Its eyes emitted a green light as it scanned its surroundings until its gaze finally landed on its master. Its bloodshot eyes turned cold as it let out a scream and grabbed its master. It breathed viciously with its nose. The early-stage Foundation establishment cultivator trembled as his body turned into a white gas. The white gas was inhaled by the corpse puppet. At the same time, the withered body of the mummy started to recover. Not long after, the cultivator was a bag of bones while the corpse puppet had returned to human form. The corpse puppet sucked again and the cultivator let out a scream and died. A yellow gas escaped from the cultivator's body. The corpse puppet grabbed the yellow gas and put it into its mouth. Soon the corpse puppet changed until it looked exactly like the cultivator that had just died. At the same time, one by one, the coffins broke and one by one the hands of corpse puppets reached out. All of these corpse puppets attacked their masters once they escaped. Not all of the corpse puppets did this. About of the corpse puppets came out and just stood there, confused. Wang Lin was stunned as he looked at scene before him. All of the corpse puppets that had turned into something resembling their masters had late-stage Foundation establishment cultivation. Wang Lin stared at these freaks. His scalp numbed as he slowly backed up. Screams could soon be heard from that direction. All of the corpse puppets that had taken the forms of their masters jumped on the remaining corpse sect disciples. Blood and body parts flew through the air. Wang Lin turned around and escaped without a word. After escaping far away, Wang Lin stopped right outside of a jungle. He felt like he had finally experienced how vicious the corpse sect was. If he didn't stop that cultivator from crushing the jade, he would have become those creatures' food. Wang Lin coldly laughed in his heart. He knew that this Juming Valley was very dangerous, as both the orthodox sects and demonic sects were gathered here for the competition for the right to enter the foreign battleground. Wang Lin didn't want to get mixed into this. He just wanted to find places of extreme EN and go into closed-door cultivation to become stronger. The more he came in contact with the cultivation world, the more danger he experienced. He felt like one wrong step would lead him to his death. But since he had already entered the cultivation world, the only way to secure his own safety was to get stronger. At the same time, the wood element the heaven-defying bead needed was also an important matter in Wang Lin's heart. While thinking about this, Wang Lin suddenly stepped back. A black light zipped by where Wang Lin was just standing. It was followed by a laugh. "Brat, you dodged pretty quickly." A youth wearing luxurious clothes slowly walked out. After checking out Wang Lin, he asked, "What sect?" Wang Lin coldly replied, "Corpse sect." The luxuriously dressed youth was startled. He asked, "Corpse sect? The rumor is that all of the corpse sect disciples carry around a coffin. Where is yours?" Wang Lin stared at the youth and frowned. The youth coldly snorted. He pointed his finger at Wang Lin and a black light appeared in his hand as he said, "It doesn't matter if you're from the corpse sect or not. Leave behind your bag of holding." A cold light flashed across Wang Lin's eyes. He spread out his divine sense and found that there were 3 more people in the jungle. He didn't say a word as he backed up a few steps. When the youth saw Wang Lin back up, he revealed a look of contempt. He waved his hand and shot the black light toward Wang Lin's chest, aiming for the heart. Wang Lin raised his brow and waved his sleeves as the attraction force technique formed a giant hand before him. The black light penetrated a few inches into the attraction force technique before disappearing. Wang Lin coldly looked at the youth. He noticed with this divine sense that the 3 hiding in the jungle were quickly heading over. He didn't want to waste time with them, so he quickly backed away. The youth became angry. Although both of their cultivation levels were early-stage foundation establishment, he had 3 brothers coming, and one of them was already at the mid-stage of foundation establishment. The 4 of them didn't move with the other people of the Tian Dao sect. They decided to use this as a chance to steal from others. It has to be said that during this competition, all of the sects had given out a lot of magical treasures to raise the power of the foundation establishment disciples. When the youth saw that Wang Lin was only one person, he had the urge to kill him, and now that he saw Wang Lin trying to run away, he slapped his bag of holding and an 8-inch ruler flew out. This ruler was completely green. When it appeared, it emitted a powerful fragrance. The youth took a deep breath and without a word, pointed the ruler forward. The ruler shook and a large black mushroom grew out of it. The mushroom detached from the ruler and floated in the air. The youth's expression was serious as he quickly took out something from his bag of holding and threw it. Wang Lin saw a flash of red light as a red wasp flew toward the mushroom and devoured it with only a few bites. The wasp suddenly became several times bigger. It was the size of a fist. It let out a scream and charged toward Wang Lin. Although all of this sounds slow, it all happened in the blink of an eye. Wang Lin's eyes became cold as the small, green flying sword appeared before him and charged toward the wasp. The wasp let out a hum and dodged to the side of the flying sword. But at the same time, the flying sword suddenly disappeared. The flying sword reappeared before the youth and pierced through his chest, leaving a bloody hole there. The luxuriously dressed youth wasn't even able to react before he died. The moment the youth died, the ruler dimmed and fell to the ground. Wang Lin used his attraction force technique to quickly grab it, as well as the youth's bag of holding, and left. The wasp circled once in the air and quickly chased after Wang Lin. At the same time, 3 figures charged out of the jungle. There were 2 males and 1 female. One of the males' face was gloomy as he looked at the body on the ground and shouted, "Chase!" In this very moment, in a small town at the northern border of Zhao, appeared 2 uninvited guests. One of them was very skinny, wore a black robe, and had eyes that contained a poisonous gaze. To his side was a very fairy-like person. This person was very old and full of wrinkles, but had a special air about him. The aura he released made a clear contrast with the dark aura of the skinny man. Currently, he was standing outside the town with an ancient mirror. His hand constantly formed seals as he was calculating something. The black-robed man was filled with killing intent as he said, "Fellow cultivator Qiming, did you manage to calculate it?" The cultivator frowned and said, "Donghua, you don't know that person's name or appearance. How am I supposed to find him with just the power of a curse?" The black-robed old man was Donghua. He stared at the other man and said, word for word, "Fellow cultivator Qiming, I'm willing to take out Wu Feng Valley's token for your ability to predict the heavens. If you can find me that person's family, then I'll help you with anything you need, as long as I'm capable." The cultivator pondered for a while. He sighed and said, "Fine, I'll try my best. But fellow cultivator Teng, all vengeance has a start and all debts have a collector. I hope you don't kill too much." Teng Huayuan let out an eerie smile as he released a massive killing aura. He secretly thought, "Li Er, Grandpa is going to get revenge for you." Thinking about Teng Li, Teng Huayuan couldn't help but feel grief in his heart. The most outstanding fourth-generation disciple of the Teng family suddenly got killed by someone. After Teng Li died, Teng Huayuan dug into the matter and found out what really happened. Aside from Wang Lin, anyone else who was involved was noted by Teng Huan. The other cultivator sighed and said, "Fellow cultivator Teng, according to my calculations, that person is at Juming Valley. Why do you want to find his family? Forget about this. All debts have a collector. If word gets out that you took your anger out on mortals, it won't look good." Teng Huayuan's face sank as he stared at the other cultivator without a word. The cultivator bitterly smiled as he shook his head. He held a bronze mirror and formed a seal with his right hand. The bronze mirror immediately floated into the air and started to wander around, as if it was looking for something. However, after flying back and forth for a long time, it wasn't able to find the direction. The cultivator frowned. He knew that this was happening because there were too few clues. He pointed at the mirror and it flew back into his hand. The cultivator bit his finger and quickly drew a symbol with his own blood on the mirror. He tossed the mirror out again. This time it grew to several times its original size. The mirror was crystal clear and there were ripples on the surface. The mirror slanted and faced Teng Huayuan. The cultivator said with a serious expression, "Don't be surprised, fellow cultivator Teng. My mirror needs to absorb the aura of the curse between you two." Traces of black gas came out of Teng Huayuan's forehead and went into the mirror. The ripples on the mirror increased until the image of a large house was imprinted onto it. Teng Huayuan's eyes were filled with killing intent. After he finished looking, he turned to look at the other cultivator. The cultivator hesitated and let out a sigh. He waved his right hand and the mirror flew to the ground. It immediately increased in size until it was as large as a person. The cultivator forced a smile and walked into the mirror. Teng Huayuan let out a smile and followed behind. After the two entered, the mirror shrank until it disappeared without a trace. There was a small town 100 kilometers away from that spot. The Wang family could be considered a big family in these parts. It was said that the Wang family had younger generations who had joined cultivation sections. These kinds of news spread fast in these small areas. The Wang family started out as a carpenter family with various shops in the towns. From the eyes of an outsider, the Wang family was the largest family in the area. In the entire town, the most luxurious building had to be the Wang family's main house. On this day, the sun in the sky was like a giant furnace baking the earth. A guard of the Wang family was leaning against a pillar, fanning himself to get rid of the heat. His cotton robe was already soaked in the chest and back area. "This damn weather is so hot. How are we supposed to live in this?" The guard opened up his robe and fanned harder. At that moment, the door of a side building opened up and a servant girl came out with a bowl. She walked through the main household until she arrived at the door. She let out a laugh and said, "Brother, drink this sour plum soup to relieve the heat." The guard turned around and saw the girl. He suddenly smiled and received the bowl. He drank it all in one go. He soon felt a cool sensation in his body and sighed. The masters really know how to enjoy themselves. This ice-cold sour plum soup is really delicious. Little sister, when you came out, you didn't let young Master Hao see you, right? The girl took the fan and helped fan the guard as she smiled and said, "Brother, you can be at ease. The young master didn't see me. I used the moment when he wasn't looking to come out. Besides, young Master Hao is a very good person, so even if he saw me, there wouldn't be any problems." The guard enjoyed his little sister fanning him. He nodded and said, "That is true. Young Master Hao is an immortal. How could he be bothered with us? Little sister, you have to show off more. If you catch young Master Hao's attention and become his concubine, then your brother here would have it easy. Just give me work as a house staff and I'd be happy." The girl's cheeks became red as she rolled her eyes at her brother and said, "Brother, you've worked for the Wang family for longer than I have. I heard that there are a total of 3 young masters who were chosen by immortals, But I've been here for 3 years now, and aside from young master Hao, I only saw young master Zhuo once. Where is the third person? The guard proudly said. This I know. That third young master is named Wang Lin. He can't compare to younger master Hao and them. I heard that he was a... As he was speaking, he suddenly closed his mouth and stared at the sky. He saw a rainbow-colored light quickly flying toward them and landing on the ground in the blink of an eye, revealing a youth in black. This youth's skin was as smooth as jade and his face was very handsome. He had a sword on his back. But if one looked closely, they would see that this was no longer a youth. There were lines near the corners of his eyes. The arrogance from his youth was no longer there. Instead, there was a sense of age. Young Master Zhuo. The guard stammered and quickly bowed. The girl was startled by the way the young master landed. She quickly hid herself behind her brother. This person was Wang Zhuo. He frowned as he looked at the guard and said, "Your name is Wang Tao, correct?" The guard didn't think that Wang Zhuo would remember his name. His spirits immediately rose. He replied, "Master, I am Wang Tao." Wang Zhuo hesitated for a bit and slowly said, "Wang Tao, who told you about Wang Lin? What did they say?" Wang Tao's heart trembled as he said, It was the housekeeper who said it. They said that he is too ashamed to return home, and that he was a piece of trash that tried to fight with you for the right to become an immortal." Wang Zhuo pondered silently. After a long time, he let out a sigh. He muttered to himself as well as to Wang Tao, "Trash compared to him, I'm afraid I'm the real trash." Wang Tao was startled. He heard Wang Zhuo's words and became very confused. Just at that moment, a youth walked out from the house. This youth was very sturdy and handsome. He stood there, looking at Wang Zhuo, and plainly said, "Wang Zhuo, long time no see." Wang Zhuo bitterly smiled and said, "Wang Hao, we haven't seen each other in 3 years. You've changed a lot." Wang Hao's face was filled with melancholy. They both became silent. The guard Wang Tao and his little sister stood on the side, not daring to breath. He knew that these two were the geniuses of the Wang family, high above them both. Wang Hao whispered, "Any news about Wang Lin?" Wang Zhuo revealed a complicated expression and said, "After he left the Hengyu sect, there has been no news." Wang Hao sighed and asked, "What cultivation level are you at now? With your talent, you should have caught the eyes of many elders at the XIAN sect." Wang Zhuo bitterly said, "It's been hard to improve. I'm at the 11th layer of qi condensation, and that is only because I managed to win the competition last year by luck, and was allowed to enter the back mountain. I wonder what cultivation level he is at now. He must at least be at the 15th layer already." Wang Hao pondered for a while and laughed at himself. "I'm only at the 7th layer. It's only been a few years and the gap has already widened." Wang Tao was shocked. Although he didn't know what qi condensation or foundation establishment were, from the talk of the two young masters, he understood that this Wang Lin was not the trash that the housekeeper made him out to be. At that moment, the sky suddenly darkened and the heat in the air suddenly disappeared. A huge mirror quietly appeared in the sky. Ripples appeared on the mirror's surface as two people walked out. One of them had a very immortal-like aura, and the other was covered in an evil aura. A huge pressure descended from the sky. Wang Zhuo and Wang Hao's expressions changed greatly. They didn't even dare to breathe. Wang Zhuo quickly clasped his hands and said, "Junior is XIAN sect's Wang Zhuo. Greetings, both seniors." The fairy-like immortal was startled and asked, "XIAN sect? Do you have proof?" Wang Zhuo's heart skipped a beat. He had a feeling that something bad was about to happen as he quickly took out his identity jade. The cultivator took the jade and looked at it. Then he looked at Wang Hao and asked, "You are as well?" Wang Hao was smart. He nodded without hesitation. Donghua let out a snort as he waved his hand. With two bangs, the heads of the guard and his little sister exploded. Blood sprayed everywhere. 2 clouds of yellow gas floated up from the bodies. Donghua took out a flag and collected the 2 clouds of gas. Shortly after, 2 faces filled with pain appeared on the flag. It was the guard and his sister. Donghua grimly said, "Today no one will be left alive." He stepped past Wang Zhuo and Wang Hao into the main household. As for Wang Lin, he was quickly moving through Juming Valley. Behind him were 2 male cultivators and 1 female cultivator. They were filled with killing intent as they chased him. As he was running, his heart suddenly hurt, as if a stake was stuck through it. This pain wasn't from any injury, but a feeling in his heart. An unknown sense of panic and frustration appeared in his heart. Wang Lin had never felt something like this before. This was a pain that made him want to tear his own heart out. It was as if all of the blood in his body was instantly sucked out. Waves of dizziness hit his head. Wang Lin withstood this unexpected pain as he quickly ran. He turned away and saw that those three were still chasing him. His eyes turned cold as he changed his direction to the corpse sect gathering area. 4 beams of light quickly flew across Juming Valley. The only thoughts in Wang Hao and Wang Zhuo's minds were panic and helplessness. They didn't even dare to move as they watched Wang Tao and his sister die before them. The fairy-like cultivator revealed a complex look on his face. He sighed and turned around so he longer had to look at them. Tung Huayuan smiled as he walked into the house. He closed his hand. When he reopened it, a ring of purple light appeared, preventing people from leaving. Then he took a step and entered one of the side houses. This was where the servants lived. Waves of miserable screams came from the house and streams of yellow gas were collected by the flag. 7 or 8 painful-looking faces of the Wang family servants appeared on the flag. Tung Huayuan didn't stop as he walked into the next house and more screams followed. Wang Hao's body trembled. He wanted to resist but was unable to say a word. Soon, all of the Wang family servants had been turned into ghosts and Tung Huayuan's face was very serious. The rest of the Wang family was alerted by the screams and tried to escape, but to their horror, they found a purple light preventing them from leaving. They could only hear the constant stream of miserable screams coming from outside. This kind of fear caused the entire Wang family to become unsettled. Tung Huayuan muttered to himself, "Li Er, that person killed you, so I'll kill his entire family to get revenge for you." With that, he stepped into another room. Wang Hao's body shook as if there was some power rushing out from inside him. He took a few steps forward and loudly shouted, "No!" Tung Huayuan turned around and sneered. He waved his hand and that house turned to dust without a sound, revealing a man and woman whose faces were filled with fear. This man and woman were Wang Lin's third uncle and aunt, which were also Wang Hao's parents. Tung Huayuan's right hand reached out and Wang Hao's father floated into the air with his hand around his neck. His face immediately became red and he opened his mouth, revealing a suffering expression. Wang Hao's eyes were bloodshot as tears flowed out. He let out a roar and was about to run out when Wang Zhuo held him down. Wang Zhuo whispered, "Wang Hao, don't be rash. That person is a nascent soul cultivator." Tung Huayuan sneered. His right hand closed. With a bang, Wang Hao's father's head turned into pulp. His body fell to the ground. Then his soul came out and was collected by the flag. "No!" Wang Hao's voice turned hoarse. He felt a pain in his chest as he coughed out blood. He looked at his father's body and muttered, Why? Tung Huayuan once again seized Wang Hao's mother, crushed her skull, and threw her before Wang Hao. Wang Hao's body shook as he coughed out more blood and finally collapsed. He held his mother's body. Tears flowed down from his eyes as he shouted, "Why?" Tung Huayuan's expression darkened. He waved his hand and under the shining purple light, all of the houses turned to dust. There were around 40 people on the ground. All of them were Wang family members. The women started to cry. They were all filled with fear. Aside from the people that were alive, there were only dead bodies without heads. Tung Huayuan smiled as he grabbed a person. This person was Wang Lin's father's third uncle. He was currently the most senior member of the Wang family. Surrounded by screams, his soul was taken by Tung Huayuan and he died. Wang Hao stared at the scene dumbfoundedly. He didn't even notice that the hand Wang Zhuo was using to pin him down had already carved out blood marks on his body. Wang Zhuo didn't dare to look at his parents among the crowd. He lowered his bloodshot eyes. Wang Lin's fourth uncle had lived in the wilderness for a long time, so he was much more brave than most people. He let out a wry smile and seemed to have thought things through. His wife died 1 year ago and his son had already been sent out to a martial arts sect, so he was gone already. He asked in a loud voice, "Immortal, what has my Wang family done to offend you? I know we mortals are like ants in your eyes, But even ants have the right to know what the cause of all this is. The fairy-like cultivator let out a surprised sound as he examined this man. Why? Tung Huayuan pointed a few times and several more people died. Blood sprayed everywhere from their messy, dismembered bodies. Someone from your Wang family dared to kill my great-great-grandson, so I decided to kill his entire family. With that, he struck the air with his right hand and more than 10 people died. Wang Hao struggled free from Wang Zhuo and was about to charge forward when Wang Zhuo pinned him down again. Wang Zhuo's face was filled with tears as he whispered, "Wang Hao, no matter how it was before, we have to live. Only by living can we get revenge." Wang Lin's fourth uncle bitterly smiled and said, "Immortal, how could someone from my Wang family kill your great-great-grandson? In these past hundreds of years, my Wang family has only had 3 immortals." He suddenly stopped as if he realized something. Among the surviving people, Wang Zhuo's father kneeled on the ground and said, "Immortal, is the person who killed your great-great-grandson named Wang Lin?" A cold light flashed across Tung Huayuan's eyes as he secretly thought, "Wang Lin, so he is called Wang Lin." He looked at Wang Zhuo's father, reached out, and held Wang Zhuo's father before him. He looked Wang Zhuo's father in the eyes and said, word for word, "Tell me everything about this Wang Lin." Wang Zhuo's father quickly told Tung Huayuan everything about Wang Lin, including where his parents lived. He viciously thought in his mind, "Die, all of you die. Even if this person wasn't killed by you, the Wang family is dead, so your parents should die as well." After Tung Huayuan finished listening, he let out a laugh. He then closed his hand. When he opened it, a ball of lightning appeared. He casually pushed it forward and a circular wave spread out. Wang Zhuo's father was the closest one. When he touched the shock wave, his body shook and turned into dust along with his clothes. As the ripples spread out, everyone who touched it died and their souls were collected by the flag. When the ripple was about to hit Wang Lin's fourth uncle, he had already closed his eyes, but a gentle white light covered his body and blocked the ripple of the ball of lightning. Tung Huayuan turned around and stared at the fairy-like cultivator. The cultivator sighed and said, "Fellow cultivator Tung, leave this person alive. He is useful to me." Tung Huayuan sneered as he pointed at Wang Zhuo and Wang Hao and said, "You won't butt into the matter with those two then?" The cultivator lightly smiled as he looked at Tung Huayuan and said, "Fellow cultivator Tung, why are you asking such an obvious question? Of course I won't stop you, but if Senior Pun Nanzi asks, I'll have to tell him the truth." Tung Huayuan looked at the fairy-like cultivator. After a long time, he stomped his feet and the entire Wang family estate turned into rubble. As for Wang Zhuo and them, he didn't even look at them as he flew toward Wang Lin's parents. Wang Zhuo's body trembled as he looked at the ruins. After pondering for a while, he kneeled on the ground and kowtowed. His forehead bled and his expression was extremely serious. Wang Hao clenched his teeth. He let out a miserable laugh and fell down. Wang Zhuo got up and picked up Wang Hao. He bowed toward the fairy-like cultivator and flew toward the Xiandao sect. All of his memories of the Wang family were swept away. The fairy-like cultivator sighed and thought, "This is really a sin. I don't know if what I did was right or wrong, but this middle-aged man is really not normal. I'll save who I can." Thinking about that, he waved his sleeves and disappeared from the Wang family estate along with Wang Lin's fourth uncle. Tung Huayuan almost immediately arrived at the small village Wang Lin's parent lived in. With him was a small flag with more than 100 faces of the Wang family. All of them wore very painful expressions. Waves of miserable screams came from the flag, causing waves of cold wind. After arriving at the village, he spread out his divine sense. He quickly found Wang Lin's house and rushed toward it. 15 minutes later, Tung Huayuan walked out of Wang Lin's house. His right hand hit the flag and it grew to a giant size as Tung Huayuan spat out some nascent blood. Bursts of scream came from the flag as ripples appeared on it. Slowly, the ripples disappeared, revealing an image. This image showed Wang Lin quickly moving through a jungle. Tung Huayuan smiled and his right hand pointed at the image. As for Wang Lin, under the effect of this unexplainable feeling of horror, he led his 3 pursers toward the corpse sex gathering location. The pain. Unimaginable pain. Indescribable pain. This kind of pain drowned Wang Lin like a flood. Cultivators were very sensitive toward certain things. Wang Lin experienced a sense of panic he had never experienced before. His parents' faces appeared before him. Shortly after, Wang Lin saw a scene that he will remember for the rest of his life. No! 2 streams of blood flowed down from his eyes. His expression was painful, his body trembled, and slivers of ENGSUB spiritual energy moved violently in his body, completely out of his control. Every plant within a 10-meter radius of him froze. This freezing aura kept growing stronger. It was in this moment that the Ji inside Wang Lin endlessly climbed up, reaching the Ji realm. In ancient times, Ji, Dao, and Shi were the 3 realms of spiritual energy that were hard to comprehend. In terms of mysteriousness, the Ji realm can't match the Dao realm. In terms of unpredictableness, the Ji realm can't match the Shi realm. But if there was ever a Ji realm cultivator in ancient times, it was a catastrophe. Although the Ji realm isn't as mysterious as the Dao realm or as unpredictable as the Shi realm, in terms of how terrifying it is, the Ji realm and the other 2 simply can't be compared. Cultivators with the Ji realm will, without a doubt, be several times more powerful than other cultivators of the same level, and their spiritual energy will be completely based on the Ji realm. As a result, the only word to describe the Ji realm is terrifying. Among cultivators of the same level of cultivation, a Ji realm cultivator is invincible. However, the weakness of the Ji realm is also very obvious. With the Ji realm, a cultivator can never reach the spirit severing stage. The late stage of nascent soul is the limit. However, a late-stage nascent soul Ji realm cultivator is someone not even a spirit severing cultivator would want to mess with. If this was all there was to it, then the Ji realm wouldn't be considered terrifying. What is really terrifying is that in ancient times, when a soul transformation cultivator was going through his trials, people found out that he had the Ji realm. This news was something that startled everyone in the ancient cultivation world and filled them with fear. It has to be said that this cultivator rampaged the cultivation world for 3,000 years. In those 3,000 years, he was like a king of the cultivation world. If anyone displeased him, he would wipe out their family and sect. In these 3,000 years, just saying his name would cause people's skin to crawl. The Ji realm is a heaven-defying existence. Not only does it make someone invincible in a fight against cultivators of the same cultivation level, spiritual energy infused with Ji realm can take techniques to their extremes. All of this is already very overwhelming, but when the only weakness of not being able to reach the spirit severing stage is removed, then when a cultivator past the nascent soul stage with Ji realm shows up, it can really be considered a catastrophe. Because of this, whenever a Ji realm cultivator appears, they are hunted down by all of the other cultivators. The Ji realm was considered by the ancient cultivation world something that was truly heaven-defying. If the demonic cultivation path is considered a ferocious beast, when compared to the Ji realm, it is only a tamed house pet. The truth is that in ancient times the study of Ji realm never stopped, but in the end, there is only some introductory understanding of the Ji realm. Luckily, only that one person seemed to be able to break past the spirit-severing limit of the Ji realm. All of the Ji realm successors in later generations were stuck at the late stage of nascent soul. Most of the records about the Ji realm have been lost throughout the ages. Nowadays, people don't know how the Ji realm came to be or how to obtain it. Only in the libraries of very large sects and high-ranked cultivation countries are there some descriptions of the Ji realm. At some point during the ancient times, a genius cultivator was born in the country of Gunya. At the age of 10, he had already reached the core formation stage and his sect was wiped out by other sections 5 years later. A mysterious cultivator appeared and within 1 month's time, he killed over 10,000 cultivators. Blood covered the sky. With only early-stage nascent soul cultivation, not only was he able to easily kill others in the same rank as him, but he was even able to kill spirit-severing cultivators. In the end, both the orthodox and demonic sects sent out a soul transformation cultivator and finally killed him. In ancient times, the country of clear water was destroyed and the king of the country entered a sect. 30 years later, he left and went on a killing spree of all cultivators. It didn't matter if they were male or female, old or young, he would kill them. In only 7 days, there were no cultivators left in the country of clear water. Not even his own sect was able to escape. Blood dyed the ground of clear water red. Just as the higher cultivation countries prepared experts to kill him, the blood in clear water boiled. Using the blood to kill his enemies, the king disappeared among the chaos. Some believe that he underwent divine retribution. All of these things have one common point. All of these cultivators had the G realm. As for how these people obtained the G realm, no one knew. Some people believe that they underwent a change, and some believe that they all had the same magic treasure. With the inheritance of that treasure, it would allow whoever owned the treasure to have G realm. Numerous speculations spread. But with the disappearance of the ancient cultivation world, all of these rumors died out too. No one knew that at this moment, in the rank 3 cultivation country of Zhao, a country that no one really paid any attention to, in a small place called the Juming Valley, a cultivator named Wang Lin was walking toward the true G realm. If Donghua knew all of this, then no matter what, he wouldn't be the person that would be the catalyst for the birth of a G realm cultivator. Wang Lin half knelt on the ground. Everything within half a dozen meters of him had been covered in ice. On his chest, the heaven-defying bead emitted a never-seen-before black light as it moved and floated above his head. Donghua used the connection of Wang Lin and his family to leave a message in his mind. "I'll wait for you outside the Juming Valley. If you don't come by the time the valley is open, then I'll destroy the soul flag and your family's souls will be gone forever." The 2 male and 1 female cultivators from the Tiandao sect caught up. They suddenly stopped a dozen meters away because the ground covered in ice caused their hearts to tighten. The youth in the middle of the ice was especially terrifying. The destructive aura that he was giving off even made the mid-stage Foundation Establishment disciples' skin crawl. After hesitating for a bit, the mid-stage Foundation Establishment cultivator made a decision. He waved his hand and said, "Retreat." Just as he was about to leave, the female stared at the heaven-defying bead above Wang Lin's head and said, "Senior apprentice brother, that bead looks very familiar." The other male said, This is the bead ancestor told us about." "Wait, no, the carvings on this bead are different. The bead the ancestor showed us had clouds, but this one has leaves." The mid-stage Foundation Establishment cultivator was startled. He took a closer look and immediately became more serious. But soon greed gripped his heart. Aside from the carvings, everything else about the bead matched the bead the ancestor showed them. The thought of the prize for the bead suddenly entered his mind. Whoever turns it in will be given a soul transformation level magic treasure. Their sect will receive 10 puppets that are at the level of spirit transformation, and their country's rank will be raised by 1. The mid-stage Foundation Establishment cultivator decisively said, "It doesn't matter if it is the right one or not, we should take it." The female took out a voice transmission jade and was about to send out a message when the mid-stage Foundation Establishment cultivator stopped her and whispered, "Although this person is strange, if us 3 give it our all, we can kill him for sure. If you notify other people and this bead really is the one in the description, then the credit will definitely not be ours. Similarly, if we are wrong and make a fuss about it, we will be scolded." "Are you dumb?" The girl was startled. She hesitated for a bit, then put away the voice transmission jade. The 3 of them immediately took out their magic treasures and used them without a word. At the same time, Wang Lin opened his eyes. His eyes were no longer bloodshot. They were as clear as water. A huge amount of killing intent escaped from his body. As the killing intent appeared, the spiritual energy in his body moved. The first effect of the G realm displayed its might. Against cultivators of the same rank, the G realm is invincible. Staring at the 3, Wang Lin gloomily waved his hand. With a flash of blue light, the ice on the ground moved and instantly surrounded the 3. Their expressions and actions froze the moment they acted. Wang Lin stood up. He reached out with his right and retrieved the heaven-defying bead. After he put it back near his chest, he moved past the 3. Cracks appeared on the ice that covered the 3. The ice broke and the 3 died. Wang Lin silently moved through the Juming Valley when a flying sword suddenly arrived before him. A young man appeared. Without a word, he pointed his finger at Wang Lin and the flying sword shot toward him. Wang Lin didn't stop moving. The moment the flying was about to pierce his body, ice appeared in front of the sword, and in the blink of the eye, the flying sword was frozen. The youth was shocked and quickly backed up. He originally saw that Wang Lin was by himself and only at the early stage of Foundation establishment, so he wanted to come here, kill Wang Lin, and steal his treasures. However, he didn't expect that Wang Lin wouldn't even need to move to destroy his flying sword. He panicked. The only thought in his mind was to run. But before he could take more than a few steps back, a ray of green light flashed by. The small flying sword pierced through his chest. His body turned to ice and fell to the ground. This whole time, Wang Lin didn't stop even for a second. One day later, somewhere inside the valley, there were 8 people from the demonic and orthodox sects fighting each other with several people of each side watching. At some point, Wang Lin's lonely figure walked out. He walked forward as if he couldn't see them at all. Among the people watching, a middle-aged man from the demonic sect frowned. Without a word, he threw out a thunder talisman toward Wang Lin. Suddenly, thunder appeared from the sky and struck Wang Lin, but when it was about to hit him, ice appeared. It was even able to freeze intangible things like lightning. This scene caused everyone to stop fighting as they stared dumbfoundedly at Wang Lin, who was walking toward them without any expression on his face. Soon, the chest of the middle-aged man who threw out the talisman glowed green. His body then froze and he died. Everyone was surprised. Before they could react, Wang Lin was already in front of them. Before him stood 4 people. Before they could speak, they saw a blue light and they froze, following the middle-aged man's footsteps. At that moment, everyone withdrew to the sides as a white-robed disciple clasped his hands and said, "What sect is fellow cultivator from?" "I'm Yuan Tian sect's disciple Zhou Quan." Wang Lin ignored him and kept walking forward. Gradually, everyone moved out of his way. As Wang Lin walked out 100 meters from the crowd, a young disciple of a demonic sect stared at Wang Lin and sneered in his heart. "You killed my senior apprentice brother. I'll remember you." Wang Lin suddenly stopped. He felt a strong killing intent coming from behind him. He turned around and coldly looked at that demonic sect disciple. Under Wang Lin's gaze, that disciple felt his entire body, inside and out, became as cold as ice. He quickly lowered his head, not daring to look at Wang Lin. Every cultivator who saw those eyes sucked in a breath of cold air. Those eyes were completely dead and were filled with killing intent. Anyone who saw those eyes felt their entire body turn cold. After staring at the cultivator for a bit, Wang Lin turned around and kept walking forward. A flash of green light appeared on that disciple's chest. He coughed out blood and fell to the ground. His body immediately froze. Even the blood he coughed out turned to ice before it hit the ground. No one dared to take a deep breath, and after Wang Lin left, no one wanted to fight anymore, so they all scattered. Just like this, Wang Lin traveled through Juming Valley. If anyone offended him, he froze them with a wave of his hand. Not even late-stage Foundation establishment cultivators could resist. After killing a few people, they all ran away. In 3 days' time, the number of cultivators that died by Wang Lin's hands were countless. Aside from certain special circumstances, there is only one way for countries below rank 5 to increase in rank. An individual's rise in cultivation from core formation, nascent soul, spirit severing, and soul transformation will raise a country's rank. If someone in a rank 1 cultivation country reaches the core formation stage, then that country will automatically be raised to a rank 2 cultivation country. If they have a nascent soul cultivator, then the country is raised to a rank 3 cultivation country. Following this, when someone reaches the spirit severing stage, the country is raised to a rank 4 cultivation country. With soul transformation, a rank 5 cultivation country. Rising in rank requires a large amount of luck. The higher it goes, the harder it is to raise in rank. Ranks the 2nd and the 3rd of may take thousands of years. As for ranks 3 to 4 and 5 to 6, tens of thousands of years is not enough at times. Although the process is difficult, it is the only way. As time goes by, there will be people who are talented enough, lucky enough to have some kind of encounter, or receive help from others. Someone who meets the requirements needed for their country to rise in rank will eventually appear. These people will without a doubt become the leaders of their cultivation countries. After a cultivation country reaches rank 4, they have the right to participate in the foreign battleground. However, in terms of power, rank 4 cultivation countries can't compare with rank 5 cultivation countries at all. The gap in cultivation level is not something that numbers can make up. For example, the most powerful cultivator of a rank 4 cultivation country is at the late stage of spirit severing. If you put them into a rank 5 country, they will instantly be second class and will look like a fragile child before the soul transformation experts. It is not over-exaggerating to say that without any special circumstances, a soul transformation cultivator can wipe out a rank 4 country. This kind of thing has happened more than once before. So in reality, the role of the rank 4 cultivation countries in the foreign battleground is really just to fight for the rank 5 cultivation countries that back them up. The real decisive battles have to be fought by the rank 5 cultivation countries. Once a cultivation country has reached rank 5, the first big problem they encounter is the lack of resources and materials. A large country must maintain countless cultivators. If they can't solve this problem, the country will collapse. Robbing lower-rank cultivation countries does not solve the problem of material and resource shortages. The only real solution is to rise to a rank 6 cultivation country. To rise from rank 5 to rank 6 is not as simple as a single person's cultivation level increasing. In order to rise up in rank as a high-rank country, the only way pertains to the foreign battleground. The foreign battleground is a place filled with cracks in space. It is an endless battleground filled with rifts in space and void winds that can easily kill a spirit-severing cultivator. Once someone is hit by the void wind, if they aren't at least soul transformation cultivators, they will turn to dust. Aside from the void winds, the most dangerous things are the rifts in space that can randomly appear anywhere. Once caught, not even a soul transformation cultivator will have an easy time. Only the experts from rank 6 cultivation countries can move as they wish in the foreign battleground. Every few hundred years, there is a huge war in the foreign battleground between the rank 4 cultivation countries. This battle is allowed and promoted by the Cultivation Union. Anyone who can win 1,000 times in a row will have their cultivation country raised to rank 6 and receive a large amount of resources and cultivation methods. In addition, the winning country can send one person to the Cultivation Union to learn a special cultivation method. That person's cultivation level will be brought to a level beyond soul transformation. Of course, the most important reward that makes all of the rank 5 cultivation countries crazy is that they will be given their own planet by the Cultivation Union to use as their new home. Cultivators care a lot about the spiritual energy of the land and the naturally formed treasures of the land. It can even be said that the basis of cultivation is spiritual energy and materials. Having your own planet is the symbol of a rank 6 cultivation country, but the Cultivation Union is very strict about the requirements to become a rank 6 cultivation country. The first step is to win 1,000 times in a row in the foreign battleground to acquire their own planet. The second step is that within a given period of time, there must be several rank 1 to 5 cultivation countries on the planet of the rank 6 cultivation country. The battle at the foreign battleground is the only way for rank of 5 cultivation country to be promoted. This rule applies to almost every single cultivation planet. In general, the rank 6 cultivation country on the planet won't intervene between the battles of rank 5 cultivation countries, but everything has an exception. If a rank 6 cultivation country keeps the rank 5 cultivation countries down, then there is no way for a second rank 6 cultivation country to appear on the same planet. However, these situations are very rare. Various rank 5 cultivation countries speculate that rising from rank 6 to 7 has to do with how many rank 6 cultivation countries there are on a planet. The high frequency of battles in the foreign battleground leaves a lot of bodies and materials that need to be cleaned up. The rank 6 cultivation countries have very strict rules when it comes to cleaning up the foreign battleground. Only rank 3 or below cultivation countries can come clean up. Some of the materials there can be considered heavenly treasures to lower rank cultivation countries. The foreign battleground is split into areas based on the various rank 5 cultivation countries, backing up the rank 4 cultivation countries. Disputes exist everywhere, no matter what rank. In order for Zhao to gain the chance to clean up the foreign battleground, the Juming Valley was created. Outside of the Juming Valley lies a very large formation. Several thousand years ago, a spirit-severing cultivator came to lay down this formation under orders. No core formation or nascent soul cultivators are allowed to enter the valley thanks to this formation. This is why after Donghua found out that Wang Lin was inside the Juming Valley, he was unable to go inside to kill him. Juming Valley is not only the location to battle for the right to clean up the foreign battleground, it is also the only entrance to the foreign battleground in Zhao. Aside from having to be a rank 3 or lower cultivation country, the only other requirement the rank 6 cultivation countries have is that the people entering can't be higher than the core formation stage. In general, after the eligibility has been determined, the foundation establishment cultivators inside the valley are directly sent in and won't come out for 50 years. It is precisely because Donghua knew of this that he killed Wang Lin's family and used their souls to force Wang Lin to come out. Otherwise, if he wanted to kill Wang Lin, he would have to wait 50 years. At the moment, almost the entire Juming Valley knew that there was a demon-like killer whose cultivation level was beyond comprehension running around. Some people speculated that he was already at the core formation stage and used some unknown method to enter the valley. Wang Lin kept walking north through the Juming Valley as his spiritual energy surged through his body. The killing he had done in these past few days not only didn't lower his urge to kill, but increased his killing intent greatly. His mind was completely blank. He doesn't know how many people he had killed, and he didn't know that the people who were still alive in the valley would turn pale and shiver whenever they saw him. A few days later, a deeply confused Wang Lin arrived at the southern edge of the Juming Valley. This place had a very steep cliff. Once he climbed out of there, he would have left the Juming Valley. Of course, under the effect of the ceiling formation, anyone who tries to leave will be teleported back the moment they touch the formation. In these past few days, every time Wang Lin thought of his parents, his heart would ache. It hurt so much that he wanted to rip his chest open. It hurt so much that he would sometimes cough out several mouthfuls of blood. As time passed, his body became weaker and weaker, but the spiritual energy in his body was getting closer and closer to the G realm. Standing at the bottom of the cliff, Wang Lin looked at the sky. He suddenly dropped to his knees and kowtowed a few times. 2 streams of blood flowed down his cheeks as he thought in his heart, "Mother, father, Taiju is unfilial." A sigh echoed in Wang Lin's mind. Wang Lin stayed kneeling for a long time before getting up. His eyes were cold as he said, "When did you wake up?" Situnan said, 5 days ago. Wang Lin, I heard Tenghuiyan's message. That soul flag is a nascent soul-level flag that can seal souls. As long as the souls are intact, there is a way to revive them. Wang Lin pondered for a while, then nodded. That Donghua killed your family because he was afraid that you would run off, so he is forcing you to appear. Wang Lin, I don't have much essence left, only enough for you to teleport 3 more times. You must use them wisely. I'm going to continue to sleep, but I suggest you go to the foreign battleground. Once there, my recovery will be much faster. Situnan's voice became softer and softer until it disappeared. Wang Lin's head suddenly became clearer than ever before. He frowned and muttered to himself 3 times. In the past 3 months, the demonic and orthodox sects had battled each other many times. Whenever either side saw Wang Lin, they would stop fighting and would open up a path. After Wang Lin left, they would continue to battle. After Wang Lin made an offering to his parents, he was no longer confused. He found a cliff, dug a cave, sat down inside and began to think. First was the spiritual energy in his body. Although his spiritual energy had the power to freeze before, it was far from the power it displayed now. This point confused Wang Lin greatly, and not even Situnan could figure out the reason for it. This showed that the Ji, Dao, and Shi realms had disappeared completely from the rank 6 cultivation countries. This spiritual power's sudden increase in strength made Wang Lin a bit more confident. He felt the spiritual energy in his body and suddenly felt very strange. It seemed there was something extra in his spiritual energy. It was as if there was some mysterious substance inside his spiritual energy, and it was because of this substance that his spiritual energy's power had increased greatly. Before, he didn't notice this because there wasn't much of that substance inside his body, but the amount of that substance had increased. The moment that thought came about, it began to expand uncontrollably. Wang Lin slightly frowned and concentrated on his body as he moved his spiritual energy. He started at his dantian, then through his body, then back to his dantian. As he examined it, Wang Lin gradually found some clues. His spiritual energy was now dark blue. However, that was not the spiritual energy's true color. It was because of some dark blue threads. This dense bulk of threads was the cause of the change in his spiritual energy. Wang Lin waved his right hand and spiritual energy came out. The spiritual energy gathered into a ball of ice, and inside it were countless dark blue threads. After pondering for a while, Wang Lin reached out and grabbed the air with a serious expression. The ball of ice began to shrink. Every time it shrank, large amounts of sweat appeared on Wang Lin's forehead. Just as the ball of ice shrunk to of its original size, some of the threads collapsed. Soon more threads collapsed as if they couldn't handle the pressure. Wang Lin frowned. He sent out another wave of spiritual energy to replace the dark blue threads as he continued to refine. As time passed, Wang Lin had sent out several waves of spiritual energy, but every time, only a small number of the dark blue threads remained. Under the continuous injections of spiritual energy, the rate at which the dark blue threads disappeared couldn't match the speed that Wang Lin was replacing them. Finally, after several hours, the refining was complete. Although Wang Lin was tired, his eyes were shining. The ball of ice had shrunk to the size of a grain of rice, and the color had changed from dark blue to cyan. This cyan grain of ice was composed entirely of dark blue threads. It emitted a dangerous aura. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he grabbed the grain and left the cave. He paused in the air for a while, then quickly flew toward the closest jungle. Standing outside the jungle, he waved his hand and the grain hit a nearby tree. At the same time, there was a faint glow of cyan light and the tree turned to ice. A dark blue ripple appeared. Wang Lin's expression suddenly changed and he backed up. In almost the blink of an eye, everything in a 300-meter radius turned into a blue world. Within the radius of 300 meters, no matter if it was trees, animals, flowers, or insects that were underground, basically any living thing within a 300-meter radius died. Even Wang Lin himself was hit by the blue light. It caused his body to become stiff, as if a wave of cold energy entered his body. It was a good thing that the energy was the same as the spiritual energy in his body. After it was absorbed by him, he recovered his mobility. Filled with uncertainty, he looked at the center of the blast. He wasn't sure if he would still be okay if he had been at the center of that blast. It has to be said that the cyan grain was refined by him using only the dark blue threads in his body. There was nothing else like it. Wang Lin muttered to himself, "This cyan grain is the best magic treasure I have." After silently standing there for a bit, he turned around and left. After he returned to the cave, he once again invested a lot of time to obtain another cyan grain. Staring at the small grain, Wang Lin sighed and put it away. Making one already took a lot of spiritual energy. It seemed he was a bit too weak after making two. Although the grain was very powerful, producing it took too much spiritual energy. Wang Lin wryly smiled as he took out some spiritual liquid and drank it down to recover. By the time night came, he had recovered 70 to 80% of his spiritual energy. His eyes lit up and without a word, he started to refine another grain. 3 days later, 3 grains of rice floated before Wang Lin. His expression was very serious. 3 seemed to be his limit. It wasn't that he didn't try to make a 4th one, but every time he tried, one of the earlier 3 would dissipate. After several experiments, Wang Lin gave up on the idea of making the 4th one. After the 3 days of observation, although the grain's power was great, it was still not enough to harm nascent soul cultivators. If he could throw out a dozen of these grains, he would have a chance, but no matter what, Wang Lin couldn't make the 4th grain. After pondering for a long time, Wang Lin came up with an idea. If he could fuse the 3 into one, then its power would increase for sure. And since he would only have one, then he should be able to make more. Thinking about that, Wang Lin hesitated for a bit before putting up a few defensive formations with the surrounding rocks. After that, he took out some protection talismans that he had stolen, sat down, then put 2 grains close to each other. Wang Lin's heart was about to come out of his throat as he prepared to escape at any moment. Slowly, the 2 grains touched. Wang Lin saw an illusion. It was as if time had stopped the moment the 2 grains touched. But shortly after, the 2 grains fused into one without any sound. The new grain had no change other than its color becoming darker. Wang Lin was startled. After pondering for a while, he fused the new grain with the remaining grain. When those 2 grains touched, there was a flash of cyan light. Wang Lin's expression suddenly changed, and he used one of the few teleports he had left to disappear from the room. The moment he disappeared, the cyan light expanded and everything within a 1-kilometer radius turned into a world of ice. Wang Lin appeared 1 kilometer away. Although he was outside the cyan light, he could still feel the cold enter through his feet. Looking at everything before him, Wang Lin began to ponder. Although he had to waste a teleport, it was worth it. It seemed that fusing 2 grains was the limit. When he tried a 3rd, it would immediately explode. He obviously couldn't use that cave anymore. Wang Lin bitterly smiled as he found another place and dug out a huge cave. Using a few days of time, Wang Lin replenished his supply of grains again. He easily controlled them to fuse together, and was finally able to successfully create a 4th grain. This confirmed his previous hypothesis that 3 grains was the max, but if they fused into one, then it only counted as one. The 3rd and 4th grains fused together. Later, Wang Lin carefully put the 3 grains into his bag of holding. 2 of them had a darker color than one of them. After sorting out all of the grains, more than a month had passed. It was close to the time that the Juming Valley would open up. Wang Lin sat cross-legged on the ground. After cultivating for a while, he opened his eyes and spat out a green light. The small green sword hummed as it circled around Wang Lin, almost as if it had intelligence. Wang Lin raised his hand and the sword landed in his palm. He touched the sword and felt the sword's bone-piercing coldness. The small green sword was blood refined by him, so when his spiritual energy changed, it caused the flying sword to also gain Ji attributes. Just as he was about to use his changed spiritual energy to refine the sword, he suddenly stopped. He immediately noticed more than 100 sword lights flying in his direction. It seemed they were all chasing one person. Wang Lin's face became as cold as ice as he muttered, "It's that person." As he walked out of the cave, Wang Lin coldly looked around and saw 100 or so people split into 5 groups. They were surrounding a young man. A middle-aged man walked out of the mob of people. He clasped his hands and said, "Junior brother Li Shan, your Xiandao sect already has a token. Why do you need so many? If you hand it over, we won't trouble you anymore." Among the disciples of Wufeng Valley, a disciple snorted and said, "Li Shan, hand over the tokens or you will die for sure." The person they surrounded was Li Shan, someone that Wang Lin had met back in the Hengyu sect. He was here to represent the Xiandao sect, and was the only qi condensation disciple from the Xiandao sect. The Juming Valley only had an upper limit, and not a lower limit on who could enter, so even a qi condensation disciple was allowed inside. Most sects wouldn't send a qi condensation disciple though. Li Shan was able to come because he was good at making fake magic pills and he was a master of sneak attacks. With these abilities, Pun Nanzi broke the rules and let him go. Pun Nanzi also gave him a magic treasure that made it so people wouldn't be able to detect him. The downside of this treasure is the more he uses it, the less effective it becomes. Li Shan really did have some skill. Thanks to the protection of his fellow disciples, he was able to steal quite a few things during battles, including 2 tokens. Adding on the token the Xiandao sect already had, they now held 3 tokens. The sects that lost their tokens attacked non-stop in the hopes of taking one back, which was why there were so many battles before. But it was also because Li Shan was too greedy. After he entered the Juming Valley, every time he saw someone, he would use that treasure to hide his presence and steal something. As he used it more and more, the magic treasure gradually lost its effect, and when he was stealing the 4th token, the magic treasure completely lost its effect. He was found out, but the Xiandao sect disciples reacted quickly enough to save his life. The news spread out and all of the sects that had lost a token stopped fighting and rushed toward the Xiandao sect's gathering place. The Xiandao sect's disciples were trapped there, so he secretly escaped using the tunnel he had dug ahead of time. However, what he didn't expect was to be found and forced to flee the moment he came out of the tunnel. He only ran a few steps when he turned around and saw more than 100 sword lights chasing after him. He almost fell to the ground because every one of them was at the foundation establishment stage. And this is how the situation played out. Li Shan knelt down and threw 2 tokens on the ground without any hesitation. The surroundings suddenly became quiet. The 2 sects that had lost their tokens had several people charge out, but how could the other sects just let them take the tokens back? Thus, they sent out people to stop them. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he stared at the 2 tokens on the ground. He moved quickly toward the tokens. Someone noticed him coming and went to stop him, but Wang Lin activated his attraction force technique and threw that person away. Just like that, after several steps, Wang Lin was almost at the tokens. The 2 groups that were fighting finally noticed Wang Lin. The people who were informed of the happenings within the Juming Valley recognized Wang Lin. They all secretly complained, but stopped and didn't dare to move forward. However, there were still some cultivators who had only heard about Wang Lin but never saw him, so they charged forward without any hesitation. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and a small, green sword suddenly appeared and began to flash. Every time the sword flashed, a cultivator would be frozen in ice and would die on the spot. Wang Lin secretly sighed. He had noticed a few days that there was something wrong with the flying sword. Ever since his spiritual energy changed, it was harder to make the sword move as he wished. However, he just needed to concentrate more on controlling the sword and he wouldn't have any more problems. With the power of the G realm spiritual energy, no foundation establishment cultivator could stand in his way. Even the magic treasures their elders had given them all fell to his G realm spiritual energy. It has to be said that for a G realm cultivator, their best weapon is their G realm. Wang Lin walked another 5 steps. For every single step, several people died to the flying sword. Gradually, there were less and less people around him as most of them quickly backed away, not daring to move forward. Wang Lin easily arrived before Li Shan. Li Shan was so scared that he didn't even dare to raise his head. Wang Lin's right hand reached out and grabbed the 2 tokens. He pondered for a while, then put the 2 tokens in his bag of holding. As his cold gaze swept past everyone, he said, "Hand over all of your tokens or die." Li Shan, who was lying on the ground, noticed that the voice was familiar, so he worked up the courage to raise his head. Suddenly, he felt like he was struck by lightning and said, "You, Wang Lin." Wang Lin gazed at Li Shan. This scared Li Shan so much that he shivered and immediately shut up. But there was a storm in his heart. It has to be said that the name Wang Lin was very famous in the Xiandao sect. Wang Lin, who arrived like a storm in the exchange between the Hengyu sect and the Xiandao sect, was the goal of many core disciples of the Xiandao sect. He was also the person that Li Shan wanted to surpass the most, even in his dreams, especially after the incident with the stink bomb. Li Shan's life was hard after that event. During that time, Li Shan cursed Wang Lin on a daily basis. But even so, he still believed that there would be a day when he would surpass Wang Lin, and after he reached the 14th layer of qi condensation, this thought became even more entrenched in his mind. But now he was dumbfounded as he found out that the difference between them was like the difference between heaven and earth. It had only been a few years and Wang Lin already had the ability to easily kill foundation establishment cultivators. In Li Shan's eyes, Wang Lin's progress was simply too amazing. After hearing Wang Lin's words, the people around him couldn't help but remember Wang Lin's reputation in Juming Valley, and how he had easily killed all those foundation establishment cultivators just now. Their hearts turned cold. After a long time, a white-clad youth sighed. He looked deeply at Wang Lin and asked, "Fellow cultivator, can you tell me what your cultivation level is?" Wang Lin plainly said, "Foundation establishment." The person was startled. He thought that Wang Lin wasn't willing to tell the truth, so he bitterly smiled. He slapped his bag of holding, threw out a token, turned around and loudly said, "The Piao Miao sect gives up their chance to enter the foreign battleground. Once the valley opens, we are leaving." With that, he led a group of cultivators southwest and slowly disappeared. With someone leading the way, the sects that had already lost their tokens explained their situation, and even opened up every disciple's bag of holding. After that, 3 more sects left. The He Huan sect was the last sect with a token. The female disciple leading the group didn't hand over the token, but looked at the other remaining sect, Wu Feng Valley. The leader of the Wu Feng Valley was an old man who looked like he was close to death. He was already at the pseudo-core formation stage and would only need to go into closed-door training for a few years to form his core. He stared at Wang Lin and sneered, "Little baby, this old man has to thank you for gathering all these tokens for me. Leave behind the tokens and you can scram." The He Huan sect's leader's brow loosened. After taking to the members of the sect, they all slowly backed away. Wang Lin's gaze swept past them before landing on the arrogant old man. Then, without a word, he slapped his bag of holding and a cyan grain of rice appeared in the air. It was clear from the expression on the old man's face that he was looking down on Wang Lin. He felt that he could have killed those people as cleanly as Wang Lin did. In this eyes, Wang Lin must have been hiding his strength, but at most, it was only the peak of late-stage foundation establishment. He believed that his cultivation level was the same as Wang Lin's. Because he was at the same cultivation level and was holding one of Wu Feng Valley's key treasures, the Heavenly Lightning Wind Fire Fan, he had no doubt that his victory was assured. Now seeing that Wang Lin took out an unimpressive little point of light, a condescending smile appeared on his face. He shouted to his fellow disciples, "All of you, back up and watch how I destroy this arrogant brat." With that, He waved his hand and a small 3-inch fan appeared in his hand. There were many golden flame symbols on the fan, making it look very pretty. The expressions of the other Wufeng Valley disciples changed when they heard the old man's words and saw the fan. They unconsciously backed up. Some even backed up more than 100 feet before they relaxed a bit. Wang Lin moved and grabbed the dumbfounded Li Shan as he quickly backed up. As he backed up, he used his attraction force technique to control the grain of rice to go toward the old man. The old man's face was filled with disdain. He hit the fan and the fan opened. As the fan opened, a beam of golden light shot out. Suddenly, a strange wind appeared and flew around the fan. Then the golden flame on the fan seemed to be alive, instantly heating up the area. Just at that moment, the cyan grain hit the outer edge of the strange wind. The next instant, the golden fire surrounded the grain. Wang Lin's expression was normal. His feet didn't stop as he thought in his head, "Explode!" In the midst of the strange wind and golden flames, a cyan light burst forth. When the light reached its peak, it exploded with a boom and formed a ring of cyan light that began to spread like a tidal wave. This scene was like 10,000 horses galloping. In an instant, it covered everything within more than 300 meters. Wind was normally an intangible thing, but under the power of the G realm, the wind turned into pieces of blue ice and fell to the ground. Next was the golden flame. The flame didn't even have time to go out before it was frozen. If one looked closely, it would look like the flame was still burning inside the ice. As for Wufeng Valley's treasure, the heavenly lightning wind fire fan, it maintained its open form as it was covered by blue ice. The pseudo-core formation old man didn't even have time to react. His face was filled with disdain and pride when the ice froze him. Behind him were 17 disciples of Wufeng Valley. Even the ones that backed away more than 100 feet weren't able to escape. They all became ice sculptures. Within a 300-meter radius, nothing was left alive. Anything that breathed was killed. This became a forbidden area for life. Li Shan's mind went blank as he stared dumbfoundedly at the scene before him. His heart was shocked to the limit. He opened his mouth but was unable to speak. His gaze toward Wang Lin became much more respectful. The disciples of the He Huan sect managed to escape it because they were 500 meters away, but they didn't dare to move because Wang Lin's cold gaze locked onto them. The disciples of Wufeng Valley turning into ice sculptures before them left the He Huan sect disciples in a state of shock. Looking at the 10+ ice sculptures, the leading female disciple's face was pale as she took out the token without any hesitation. After she carefully put the token on the ground, Wang Lin shouted, "How many tokens are there in total?" The female disciple's body shook. Suppressing her fear, her voice trembled as she said, "There are 7 in total." Wang Lin's expression remained the same as he secretly calculated. Wufeng Valley didn't have a token, and in his hand he had 1 from the Piao Miao sect, 2 from the Xiandao sect, and 1 from the He Huan sect. He had 4 in total. Only 3 more and he would have them all. But the token belonging to the corpse sect disappeared into the formation along with the late-stage Foundation establishment disciples. Excluding the 1 from the corpse sect, there were 2 more. Before entering Juming Valley, he heard from Izizai that the competition in the valley was to steal the others' tokens. According to this and from Situnan's explanation of how to enter the foreign battleground, he gained a vague understanding of everything. He turned to the female disciple and suddenly said, "How many slots are there to enter the foreign battleground?" The female disciple was startled. She hesitated, but after seeing Wang Lin's cold gaze, her body shivered and she quickly said, 3. There are only 3 slots. With that, she was afraid that her explanation wasn't enough and would anger Wang Lin, so she quickly added, "There are a total of 7 tokens, but if there are more than 3 tokens that are not destroyed, Zhao loses its chance to enter the foreign battleground." Wang Lin glanced at her and the female disciple immediately became scared. She anxiously said, Fellow cultivator, of the 3 remaining tokens, I know where one of them is. If you let us go, I can tell you." Wang Lin's expression was normal as he coldly said, "Speak." The female disciple clenched her teeth and quickly said, "It is at the gathering spot of the Xiandao sect. There should still be people sieging the place. We were in a rush to chase Li Shan, so we didn't bother staying there. But I'm sure they have a token." Li Shan's expression suddenly changed. But then he let out a bitter smile because Wang Lin's gaze fell on him. It is an elder Lu Mei's hand. He wanted to lie, but the moment he saw Wang Lin's gaze, he couldn't help but tell the truth. He never had this kind of feeling even when meeting ancestor Pan Nanzi. Elder Lu Mei? Wang Lin pondered a little. The image of a very beautiful young woman came to his mind. He looked at Li Shan and asked, "She reached the foundation establishment stage?" Li Shan nodded with envy and said, "Ancestor Pan Nanzi personally helped her reach the foundation establishment stage." Wang Lin pondered a little and couldn't help but think of everything that had happened back at the Hengyu mountain. Scenes of his parents appeared in his mind and his heart couldn't help but ache. He reached out, grabbing the female disciple and Li Shan as he jumped into the air. The female disciple panicked and a damp spot appeared on her pants as her face turned very red. "Tell me where the Xiandao sect is." Wang Lin frowned as he held the female disciple a bit further away. The female disciple weakly pointed to a direction and Li Shan also gave in and gave a more detailed direction. Wang Lin didn't say a word and quickly moved forward. After a short period of time, they arrived at the gathering ground of the Xiandao sect under the two's guidance. The ground was in complete disarray. It was clear that there was a harsh battle here before. After Wang Lin arrived, he waved his hand and the female disciple and Li Shan fell to the ground. "You can leave." Wang Lin looked at the female disciple and walked toward the gathering spot of the Xiandao sect. The female disciple carefully backed up. After backing up more than 200 meters, she jumped on her flying sword and escaped as fast as she physically could. Wang Lin's tone was plain as he said, "Li Shan, call out the people of the Xiandao sect. I only want the token, not to kill people." Li Shan's forehead was covered in sweat as he took out a jade from his bag of holding with a bitter smile. He held it against his forehead. After a while he tossed it forward. The jade shot out like an arrow until it was out of sight. After a while, rings of light appeared on the ground. They then became pillars of light. Inside the pillars there were 10 people sitting cross-legged on the ground. Among them was a beautiful girl that would make anyone's heart pound faster. Her expression was solemn. Her hands formed the shape of a vase, and there was a duster floating above her head. This duster was like white hair as waves of white light spread out from it. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he looked the faces of these 10 people. The girl suddenly opened her eyes. When she saw Li Shan at first, she didn't care. But when she saw Wang Lin next to Li Shan, she was startled. After carefully looking at Wang Lin, her eyes revealed a strange light. She waved her hand and the duster landed in her hand. The pillar of light slowly dissipated. Among the 10 people, there was 30-or-so-year-old young man who looked at Wang Lin with a complex expression and said, "Wang Senior Brother Wang, long time no see." This person was Lu Mei's brother, Lu Feng. Wang Lin scanned him with his divine sense and found that he had reached the early stage of foundation establishment too. However, his spiritual energy was unstable. It was clear that he had just entered the foundation establishment stage. Wang Lin stared at them and let out a sigh as he said, "Xiandao sect, forget it. Hand over your token and I won't make it hard on you guys." One of the 10 Xiandao sect disciples, an old man, stood up and sighed. "What an arrogant junior, asking us to hand over our token right away. Lu Feng, do you know him?" Lu Feng wryly smiled and said, "Senior Apprentice Ma, he is Wang Lin." The old man named Ma was startled and then he sneered. "So it's you. But even if you have reached the foundation establishment stage, you don't have the right to be arrogant before us. Scram!" With that, he waved his hand and a huge gust of wind blew toward Wang Lin. Wang Li didn't even dodge. Just as the gust of wind got within 5 meters of him, it turned into pieces of ice and fell to the ground. At the same time, there was a flash of green light and the old man named Ma's body shook as a giant hole appeared in his chest. Then, his entire body froze and he died. Wang Lin had a strong feeling that after his spiritual energy changed, there was powerful killing intent in his mind. He had almost lost control of it many times, so he just gave up on controlling it. The sword flashed green as it circled around Wang Lin with the tip pointed at the Xiandao sect. If one looked closely as the sword flew, it would pause, but Wang Lin would quickly force it to move again. The expression of the Xiandao sect disciples changed greatly and Lu Feng was dumbfounded as his heart shivered and beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. He had always seen Wang Lin as his goal, and when he reached the foundation establishment stage with the help of Pan Nanzi 1 year ago, He thought that he had surpassed Wang Lin. But looking at it now, not only had Wang Lin already reached the foundation establishment stage, but his cultivation was also very strange. Senior apprentice brother Ma, who was at the mid-stage of foundation establishment, died after one attack from Wang Lin. What cultivation level had Wang Lin reached? The more Lu Feng thought about it, the more scared he became. Lu Mei unexpectedly didn't reveal a surprised expression, but after looking at Wang Lin, she decisively took out the token and tossed it at him. From beginning to end, she didn't say a word, but her eyes were always on Wang Lin. After putting away the token, Wang Lin coldly looked at Lu Mei. He then turned around and disappeared into the distance. After a long time, Lu Mei withdrew her gaze and sighed. Her unparalleled charm seemed to have no effect in front of Wang Lin. After returning to his cave, Wang Lin took out the 5 tokens. After pondering for a bit, he crushed 4 of them without any hesitation and placed the remaining token in his bag of holding. He used his attraction force technique to move rocks to block the entrance of the cave. After setting up a few defensive formations, he began his closed-door training. He needed to be fully prepared for the battle in 2 months.